Hello everyone, and we're going to be doing a take two of the video for today, as it didn't record the first time, or at least partially. But anyway, we're going to be talking about our season series previews, and we have the Philadelphia Flyers up for this. Now before we start, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel and you want to see more content from me. Hoping to do this as a full-time career, and I'd really appreciate your support along the way if you wanted to stick along for all this. Anyway, let's talk about the Flyers. Philly, quite frankly, was a dumpster fire last season compared to what we expected, or what was kind of expected from them, as they made some additions to their roster. And this was a season fans would probably want to bury under the depths of the city, as the team went 25, 46, and 11 for 61 points in their worst season in a full 82-game stretch since the 2006-7 season, when they closed out the campaign with 56 regular season points. Just to give you some perspective as well, during the season prior to this, they had 58 points in 56 regular season games and would go on pace for, or would be on pace for, an 85-point season, which would be a full 24-point difference from one season to the next, fully showing how steep of a drop-off it really was for the team. Now they're in a weird spot where they're trying to make the playoffs, and after keeping a lot of the same guys as before, feeling they're in a good spot to possibly make it this year as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about everything. We're going to have some storylines and my expectations for the team this season. So the first storyline will be, will the addition of personality help this team? Flyers head coach John Tortorella and the blue liner Tony DeAngelo are coming over to the city of brotherly love. They have a reputation not being so loving. So when it comes to this, they are a gritty two pair. You know, obviously they haven't got a chance to be together just yet, but they are a gritty duo, and they fill in right into the city just because of, you know, how they are. It's just the way they are, and I think that they are going to fit in fine in a place that is blue collar, and it lives up to its reputation for how they are a really passionate fan base, but at the same time they really give it to their fans, or not their fans, but their team and the other team when they are going at it. So this is an interesting thing. After you have a bad season, you bring in two guys that are kind of, you know, a little bit on the edge. Now, Torts has a history of not lasting long in different gigs. It tends to lose the locker room when the results are not there. For good reason. It's hard to buy into a guy chewing you out 24/7 and not getting W's in the process. What I will say is he has been able to get to the postseason quite a bit in his NHL coaching career. Ended up winning the Stanley Cup with the Bolts back in 2004. Maybe, just maybe, he can fire this side up and get them back to where they were kind of hoping to be, as they had lost their way as a club this past season. And he gets a guy in Cam Atkinson who already played a lot of years with him in Columbus, and he also has multiple veteran players that should have a really good understanding of the league and how it works, so that is good. On the flip side, he's made remarks recently about how this organization is a disaster in a way from top to bottom, which it's not ideal to say before you even start, but that is a very Torts-esque thing to do, and I feel like he could be out of this city as fast as he gets here. We'll have to see. As for DeAngelo, he comes over to Philly after being a gamble for the Carolina Hurricanes, and a gamble that really paid off for them, as the defenseman was able to put up 51 points in 64 games and will likely see top four, if not top pairing minutes for his new team. If he handles himself like how he did with the Canes, then he could be a good move for the Flyers, a good addition. If he handles himself like he did with the New York Rangers, then holy cow, this could be a bad one. Either way, this could be a show to watch of the two coming in here, and I think this could be interesting for better or worse. As for another storyline, we have the addition, or the focus, of Ryan Ellis. Now, he was traded to the Flyers last season from the Nashville Predators before the season started in the offseason, and managed to play a whopping 4 games with his new team. And that's not going to fly with the deal that he has. And of course, injuries do happen, but his team desperately needs him this season. He may not be one of the big name blue liners like Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, Roman Josi, but I do think people understand, or at least know a bit about him, how valuable he can be when he's healthy. He's a two-way force, or at least was, and if he is at the top of his game, he's probably the best blue liner for the Flyers, even at age 31. While he might have been dealt for in an injured season, maybe he could bounce back after having a chance to heal up, rest a little bit after logging a lot of minutes per night in the league in his career. It's really difficult to say though, as he'll have to do it with, not a lot of ice time last year, 4 games. And in that time we saw him, that wasn't really a point where he was dominant at 5-on-5 play, having 6 goals for compared to 2 goals against when he was out on the ice. 3 were when he was out on the power play, so I'm kind of thinking historically we haven't seen him be a stud on the power play, so I wouldn't expect him to have a big year on the man advantage, but I'm really not sure. In general, he is on a longer deal and needs to get going though to be a valuable guy for the team, and I'm very curious to see how he will do. And you look at the blue line, if he plays well, D'Angelo plays well, and you have other guys like Provorov and Sanheim, maybe, just maybe, this blue line is going to be looking pretty good this year. The bad news is he's expected to be out the start of the regular season. I'm starting to worry for the team that Nashville was the franchise that dodged the bullet in this trade if he's not able to play more games with the length of his deal, and it's starting to look like maybe, just maybe, his career is in jeopardy as his injury is kind of vague. It's a multi-layered groin injury from what we're hearing, and it's just weird. So we'll see. And I guess that's kind of the point here. As for the final storyline, let's talk about the youth. The Flyers are a team that has multiple young guys to look out for this season, and I think a big part of this will come down a few guys, but there's plenty here. And we get to see if they're part of the team's long-term future. You have guys like Owen Tippett, Cam York, and then more experienced guys like Joel Farabee. Out of the trio, Tippett will likely get the most attention because he's part of the Claude Giroux trade. And he has not been too convincing in his time in the league, but he also hasn't been able to get a lot of minutes with the Florida Panthers. Will Philly be able to get more out of him? That is the question. He had 7 points in 21 games with the Flyers last season, and I'm especially worried for him / intrigued to see how he does with Torts. Torts has a history of keeping young guys in the doghouse as they get adjusted to the NHL level, and I don't want to see Tippett be stuck there in the doghouse and try to work his way out of that. And also, my biggest worry for him and other young guys is Tortorella possibly delaying or stunting their development offensively. We know he's a guy that really likes to play that defensive coaching style, or likes to coach that way, and you need these young guys, especially if they're looking to be developing their offensive game, to do so at an early age, not only for them to learn the game at a better time, but also be more productive for the team for a longer period. And it's going to be a focal point for a lot of these guys. Cam York, interesting guy, not exactly sure how this year will go for him, but hoping for the best for him as well. So having talked about all this, what are my expectations for the Flyers this season? Personally, I don't see them making the playoffs at all. Yes, they've got a potentially good sporadic goalie in Carter Hart, and they do have a nice mix of veterans and youth in their lineup, but GM Chuck Fletcher has made some very bad moves, in my opinion, since he's arrived in Philadelphia, and he has made the roster worse, in my opinion, with what he's given up. The problem in general is he has got older guys on long-term deals, has handed out bad deals, and in general scares me with how he has handled things, especially with the Giroux trade. Didn't get a great return when Ben Chiarot ended up fetching a better return, if I'm not mistaken, for Montreal when he was traded to the Panthers. Now, of course, Giroux is probably going to end up leaving, so there is that argument, but I am scared. On top of that, a lot of veterans could be past their prime, and a team that Fletcher refuses to, embrace either a retool or a rebuild could be problematic for the team, not only for this season, but in the years to come. I do think for Tortorella, he is a guy that could be a good coach, but it really depends. He is a guy that needs to be in the right environment in order to coach well. We saw in Columbus, he was, of course, able to take a roster that wasn't exactly loaded with talent and get them to the postseason regularly. We were able to win a round with him against the Lightning, and of course, the Maple Leafs in the qualifying round. But all in all, I think this is not an ideal situation for anyone, and I would be surprised if he was the head coach either by the end of this year or next season. As for the GM spot, if I was GM, I'd be flipping the veteran guys off, not flipping them off, but flipping them out to get the most prospects / returns you can get right now, and to figure out what's going to be going on for the future, and let the kids get serious playing time and developing them to their fullest capabilities. Probably not going to happen. Instead, we're going to see guys like Ristolainen probably get way too much playing time after he get that big deal, and I am scared because before I have underreacted to Philadelphia, but now I'm going to be overreacting because I think that while they might not finish with 61 points, could be better than that, they certainly, in my opinion, are not making the playoffs this season. So I am curious to see what you think. Will it be as bad as I just said, or it will be better than that? Will they make the playoffs? Let me know down below in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please let me know. And also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night, and you go have hockey all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.